What's up, guys? We got our drinks.
Yeah. Cheers.
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 You might be surprised to hear three voices right now.
Yeah, it's Larry's got a mouse in his pocket.
We've got John Kline, right? Kline.
Yep.
Yeah, filmmaker, director,
Extraordinaire.
writer, director of. I always call it Solar Flare. Oh, Once Upon a Time in.
Once Upon a Superhero.
No, that's because the story you told me. Once Upon a Superhero is the story you told me at the party the other day. Threw me off. Remember you told me the.
Yeah.
I remember. Once Upon a Superhero is a pretty awesome indie film. John Kline here wrote and directed, and I was super impressed, as I told you at the premiere.
Yeah.
So look it up.
appreciate
We'll
that.
put a link in whatever links we share here.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank
You want to give us a little elevator pitch for like your film, log line or something?
Sure. Homeless guy proclaims to be a real superhero from another dimension. Out here in Hollywood, on the boulevard, lost his superpowers. Gets the name Solar Flare, and tells his day about him. In one day, he tells his whole story about what happened to him, and 187 days he was on this planet, and without giving too much away, I think
That's the story.
It's that doesn't do justice what I saw. But that's hey dude, you sound like me when I'm trying to tell my shit too.
Yeah.
why don't you tell me?
I'll tell you one thing. Well, that you cover what it's about, but it is, dude. The way what I was in love with was I've lived in LA now, so I know Hollywood fairly well. I live in Hollywood, and I was like, that movie felt like Hollywood the movie, kind of. You know what I'm saying? Like one aspect of it, from the bottom looking up.
Yeah.
Which is like what we love film wise. We talk about like the misfits and the forgotten people for sure. And to me, it felt like Hollywood the movie, dude. Like those people we don't pay attention to walking around out there, it felt like their story.
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome.
Well, for people who aren't too familiar with Hollywood, if you come down to Hollywood Boulevard, there's people who dress up in the different superheroes and kind of panhandle you to take pictures with them if you're a tourist. And it started off years ago with just a handful, like a Wonder Woman and a Batman and a
Superman. And we should say real quickly,
yeah.
by the way, a little toast to Christopher Dennis passed away.
The
I don't think we
original
mentioned that. The
Superman.
original Hollywood Superman, a buddy of mine. He was in my first feature film, Along to the Death of a 20-something.
Yeah.
Without him, I wouldn't be. I mean, Jennifer Wanger is one of my best friends in the world. Jennifer Van Dien now. I didn't even think to mention that until right now. Sorry to interrupt. But,
No, that's great because it's this sort of intertwined sort of thing is where a lot of these guys that are there on the boulevard dressed up like they want to be actors and that's why they're there. Like that was Christopher's thing, right? He kind of looked like Christopher Reeves.
He looked eerily like Christopher Reeves sometimes.
And wanted to be cast as Superman, or wanted to be cast in a movie.
He wanted to be Superman 5 because there were 4 Christopher Reeve, right?
Yeah,
That was his dream, was to be cast in 5. You know, I remember him telling me. Yeah.
And then so John's movie takes place kind of in that world where you've got all these people there on the boulevard dressed up as superheroes, and all the other characters just like in the more broad description of characters that are in Hollywood Boulevards
too, though. Jumbo's Clown Room.
Yeah.
Was it Griffith Park, the old zoo back there, or something like that? Like I knew the spots. I was like, damn, this is like. I think Hollywood people would be like, damn, this is like a love letter, man, for sure.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it's quite a crazy film. Did a lot of film festivals.
Once Upon a Superhero. Once again,
Yeah. So keep an eye out for that. But we thought we'd bring John in for his unique perspective on films, life, and everything.
Just one more passionate, angry artist like the rest of us. But good soul.
Yeah. What's so John? What would you say? Is there like one movie that like inspired you most as a kid, like along your journey to like I want to be a filmmaker or something? It's like one movie or something that
probably
like,
Independence Day, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Man, just love that movie. Well, it depends on when you want to start. There was a couple films when I was really young. I think a big one was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I watched that as a very, very young kid with my grandma. We used to watch that a lot. I was raised by my grandparents and my mom. And probably around 7 or so, I started watching that movie.
Did they just let you watch it? They just let you watch it? They were cool with that or what?
Okay, so that's an interesting story. When I was probably, absolutely, the answer, yes. But there was a video back in the 80s, growing up in the 80s, we had video
Oh,
stores.
dude, he's wearing right now. He's wearing his classic Blockbuster Make It a Blockbuster Night T-shirt, which I own the exact same shirt
That's
as well.
hilarious.
Yeah, you know what? And Scott's wearing a Star Wars shirt, and I'm wearing a Cobra Kai shirt.
Wow.
So just so you all have an idea of what you're dealing with right here.
That is amazing.
Yeah, but go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. And so there was actually a small, very small video store right down the street from me, right down the block. And it was owned by a couple of young guys, two brothers. They were maybe in their 20s, like probably even early 20s,
Right.
And I would go in there with my grandma, and immediately I would go to the horror section. I liked other movies too, but I was really...
Even at 7, even as like a young kid,
Yeah, I
you
was
went right
really
there.
into horror movies.
Do you remember the
I got into
box?
Fangoria very young.
Oh, yeah,
very, very
dude,
young. I had a
totally.
subscription and everything when I was really young.
That's awesome.
And what were we gonna say?
The box art.
Yeah.
Oh,
Walking
amazing.
the old. I mean, this makes us sound old, but I'm not. We're not old. It's just. Well, it's because when we were kids, these stores were these video stores, but everybody knows about these from 30 up, right? But just walking all the box art on both sides of you, I would become interested in movies. I just would see a cover and flip it over, want to read the back, and that sucks that that's gone. But
Yeah,
I
just
didn't-
picked up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say we didn't like watch those kind of horror movies when I was a kid, so all I saw was the box art.
Same,
and
until
just
a
like
certain age,
just
yeah.
like kind of fantasize about what the movies would be and getting a chance to
my
see
dad
them.
would pick us up every other weekend because my parents are separated. So dad let us watch whatever the fuck we wanted, but mom's world was like no to the R-rated stuff. But we still got a glimpse. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I actually just picked up a book. I mean, I think it's out of print now, but I got it off Amazon. And it's a book. It's called Grindhouse something. And it's nothing, the entire book doesn't even have any text in it. It's just pictures of covers.
Oh, no
mostly
way.
movies. Yeah, it's a great book. I just got it.
I would buy that for sure.
Yeah,
dude.
I'll have to loan it to you. I just got it like maybe 2 weeks ago.
Wow,
week and a half
that's
ago.
amazing.
And it's great, man. I love just looking through it.
What's the one
like back in the
What's
day.
the one with the monkey with the symbols? It's holding the symbols.
Monkey Shine.
Monkey Shine.
Monkey Shine. That was a classic one.
Yes,
Even the
yeah.
Child's Play ones, I can
Yes,
name. I
yes,
can
those
think
are
of
great.
so many movie covers. Yeah.
Yeah, no, those are classic. And so I would go to the video store and go through. I would love, like we're talking about, I would love to go in through the horror section.
Yeah.
And I was allowed to watch whatever I wanted. So these guys got a kick out of that, seeing a little kid and could watch anything.
Totally.
And they thought that was just hilarious.
We're gonna fuck this kid up.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So they would give me just the craziest movies. And so one day they gave me, when it first came out, Toxic Avenger.
Oh yeah.
And that was life-changing.
Trauma.
Yeah,
From Trauma.
And they gave it to me, and I still remember this day coming back and being like, the VHS to him. I just loved it. I was like, this is just awesome. This is just one of the greatest films. And they actually gave me a full-size cardboard, full Toxic Avenger
dude,
guy
they were, like,
holding a
living-
real mop.
They were living through you. That's
Yes,
amazing.
exactly. And
That's
so I had
amazing.
that in my bedroom growing up.
Toxie?
I had a full-size thing. Was bigger than I was.
Oh, man.
And that was huge. So I got to meet Lloyd several times.
Yeah, that's
he
one of my-
wanted to distribute my film actually. but
Oh
I-
yeah, that'd be a great. Well, I don't
Yeah,
know
I
what
still
the
have his
distribution.
information, so maybe we'll work together.
He's been a buddy of mine for years now, actually.
Okay,
That's cool.
yeah. I see him whenever I see him. We always say hello.
Yeah.
I run into him all the time.
I don't know what their deal looks like these days, but I was like,
It's nothing. It's zero.
yeah. But I would say at one
It's
time.
a great way to build fan base,
Yeah, and you've got a pre-existing audience there, but I would say at one time that would have been the perfect home for that dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll shut up, but go ahead.
No. So
On that.
yeah, so that was a huge one, So those two movies right there were gigantic. But the movie I'd say that actually made me want to become a filmmaker and said, okay, now I know I have to be a director, and now I know I have to go to Hollywood. It was seeing True Romance.
Oh yeah.
That was just huge for
Yeah.
me. Okay, and then of course Tarantino, who wrote it, and then all of a sudden he came out with Reservoir Dogs.
Reservoir Dogs was right after, right?
And then Pulp Fiction, and those were just like, that was like the grand slam right there.
Yeah,
those
totally.
3 movies,
Yeah.
and those were huge. Okay, after that, I was a huge Tarantino nut when I was in like.
A lot of
I guess
people
high
don't know what
school.
True Romance is. Do you, Scott?
Yeah, it's a good film. I've got it on
So,
DVD.
so if you don't know, and you're a Tarantino fan, he wrote a movie called True Romance before he started making his films, and Christian Slater and I can't remember. Like a picture.
Harvey
Brad
Keitel.
Pitt's in it. He plays a
no,
stoner.
the lead girl though.
Patricia Arquette.
Patricia Arquette, yeah, and there it's totally Tarantino.
Hopper.
Yeah, it's totally
Yeah.
Tarantino, before Tarantino.
Christopher Walken. I mean,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
so many
Yeah.
good.
There's so
actors
much
in there.
dialogue that wouldn't fly now. I can think of right now, but yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Amazing film. So yeah, that was definitely a deal breaker for me.
The Tarantino voice.
Yeah.
I remember when Pulp Fiction came out, and my mom. I was a kid. They weren't going to let me see it, but I remember my mom telling me a funny story. Remember the scene where I can't remember who's talking to who, and they're like, "Who's the girl out there with the shit all over her face?" And they're talking about the piercings and stuff. He's like, "That's my wife." Yeah, I can't remember my mom. That was the only glimpse into this movie I had. I was not allowed to see it, but she told me that funny scene as we were driving one day. I remember, and
That's hilarious.
I couldn't wait to see it. Well, you know what? This is a good segue, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, so welcome to the Old Fashioned Hollywood Podcast.
Yeah, we're actually drinking our old fashions right now.
Yeah. We're drinking the same as last go round. It's the Monumental Blended Scotch Whiskey from Alexander Brewing Company.
We're also
18 years aged.
We're also drinking Guinness Extra Stouts as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, that as well. Because why not?
Because I asked Scott, what beer do you want me to bring? And he said that one, so I
Yeah,
did it.
so that's what we got. Yeah,
So, hey, go ahead.
So Larry's going to try to introduce some format and structure to this.
Sort of,
frickin'
but it's
podcast.
more. I found a couple things. You know what I wanted is we kind of always have an idea what we're going to talk about, but I felt like me actually giving like the source material real quick, and then we can bounce off of it. So, and it's kind of along the lines, John's just talking about how he's influenced by Tarantino of all people, which is a unique voice. Now, listen, if what I'm about to tell you, Warner Brothers is going to do, had been the case, there'd be no Tarantino voice if everybody was doing this. So,
Yeah.
So I'm going to read a quick article, but the headline is Warner Brothers will use an artificial intelligence system company to help decide which films to greenlight. And I'll just read a couple of the lines. The system can calculate in seconds what used to take days to assess by human when it comes to general film package evaluation or a star's worth. The entire Marvel Cinematic Universe was built on Favreau convincing a bunch of executives that a middle-aged actor not long out of rehab in prison who had described himself as box office poison, even during his earlier 1990s heyday, would be the perfect Iron Man. These analytics that purport to tell you which actor is worth how much in these territories are useless compared to the casting intuitions that end up creating magic on screen. Obviously, that's a voice to the contrary, people speaking against it. But I guess when I read this, I read that they were going to do this. I wasn't shocked. I felt like they've been trying to do this. Humans have been sitting around on a board. Look, not to be a dick, I'm always hard on Marvel and DC. Like, sometimes they're fun, but I know it's getting more and more. This is becoming a very structured thing now, and it's becoming very much the same thing over and over. How you guys feel about this? Does it make you pissed off? It makes me scared. But it makes me more, let me say, it makes me more afraid, not of them doing it, but I can already imagine half of our population finding reasons to defend it and it becoming okay.
Well, I mean, it's really just the logical extension of what they've already been doing,
Right.
I mean, they've already been always crunching numbers, like the article says, and taking certain actors and saying, oh well, Samuel Jackson is worth this much and Brad Pitt's worth this much. I mean, Relativity Media, they're gone now, but that was kind of their thing. What they had done, I don't know if you know. What's that one? What's the Brad Pitt movie about baseball?
League of Their Own.
No.
Hardball or something like that.
Yeah.
Moneyball.
That's the one.
Oh, Brad Pitt. I was thinking Tom Hanks. What the fuck? It's not Brad Pitt.
So the idea behind that was the idea behind Moneyball in real life was that this coach was taking these players and doing the stats and figuring out how to put the perfect team together.
Right.
And so Relativity Media was kind of doing that same sort of thing. They'd take all these different equations and crunch the numbers and say, this is going to be a good movie, this is going to be a good movie. And they were around for 5 or 6 or 7 years, and then they're gone. I think you're gonna get a few hits doing that, and I don't think it's gonna be something that revolutionizes anything any different than what we were talking about before with we have Disney now that's taking over anyways. That's a
It's
bigger
already
thing.
to me. This is Disney was like I was like this is a continuation of what we already know is happening.
Yeah.
To me though, it's maybe it's not about having an AI system. It was already in place before. There's the whole elimination of risk when it comes to art is, to me, I don't mean to sound hippy dippy or pretentious, but like, what the fuck are we in this for? If not, you know what I mean? Like that's what his story is about. Tarantino, and like he was digging for things that made him go, oh, whoa, holy shit! Like that. How do you get that? How are we going to get that if this is just becoming a risk adverse, not just risk adverse, but eliminate all risk process.
Well, you can't do that. I mean, that's it. That's art. Is you have new people with new voices that are taking chances, that are pushing the envelope, and like just by definition of what art is, it's not safe and it's not predictable. Like what is the population gonna like? And you can sit there and you can put your paint on a canvas, or you can shoot something, and you may like it, and no one else in the world may like it.
But they're determining what's successful by how much money it makes.
Right.
And I think sadly
sure.
we can say that art that is predictable makes a lot of money.
Right. And I mean, and there's I'm not at all arguing that you can't use any sort of predictive models to figure this stuff out, but to have it completely take over the industry, I think I don't think that's going to necessarily happen, because there's always going to be the outliers, but it's where the money goes.
I think the audience too, kind of a more optimistic take, is I think the audience, I don't give the audience a lot of credit anymore. I feel like I used to, but they've disappointed me too many times. But I will say that I do think once they start smelling that this is the same thing over and over, that I think they will get sick of it and demand it changes a little bit, just by voting with their feet, not by being vocal by any stretch of imagination. John, I can't see you liking this. I know how you feel.
Yeah, but I'm not surprised in the least bit. You know,
Yeah.
whether it's a computer or it's a bunch of guys in suits, you know, it doesn't really matter anyways.
Right.
Neither one of them have any artistic ability, or
Yeah.
I don't know. It just it's sickening, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and people always say, I guess, again, this is being positive, I think that the theaters have pretty much been taken away. Yeah. We're all indie filmmakers, and to me, thinking of a theatrical release, a major theatrical release seems like I feel like we can make successful films, but that seems like, not only does it seem highly unlikely, but does it even seem like it needs to happen anymore? Like, when you think about yourself making a film, do you think like it has to be in theaters worldwide anymore? Of course, that's a dream, but like, realistically speaking, you don't need that, And I think that there's
yes and no. I mean, I think like my experience with Fifth Passenger was that having, we had a very limited theatrical release, and a lot of that was just so that we were technically a theatrical released film, and that helps you down the road with other things as far as the where your film goes, and Redbox and video on demand and placement and things like that. And I still think that there is a status and an attitude about a film that got a theatrical release.
But if it didn't get, like The Irishman didn't get a theatrical release.
No, but
I saw it in theaters.
You did, but not a major theater, because I wouldn't know where to see it.
It wasn't major.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I'm talking about. Is actually every film.
But that was a
theater
film. That was a Netflix film. Like
that's what I was going to say.
Netflix produced film.
That status that comes with being in a theater. Also, if you say it's on Netflix, people kind of mentally have that same reaction now. So I was saying there's not just one way to that.
Right.
It's like the person in Nowhere America thinks you've succeeded if, one, as an actor, if they've seen you on TV, if you're a filmmaker, two, if they've seen your movie in a theater or on Netflix, right? Like, is that pretty much, what I'm saying is, like, it's not just one thing now, it's become more than that, thankfully, but.
Yeah, and you're also like a movie like The Irishman, you're talking about, well, that's a Martin Scorsese film, and like a Martin Scorsese film doesn't need the theatrical release for people to like. The prestige, and for people to want to go see it.
I guess
an unknown filmmaker with unknown actors and stuff like that needs a lot more in order for people to get excited about it and for people to watch it. But
it almost validates it to.
Of course, I'm right, Larry.
Of course, yeah. I should have known better to disagree. Yeah, how's I'm almost Once Upon a Superhero. Now you're gonna fuck me up on it. You shouldn't have told me that story, dude. How's it doing though? It had a pretty good festival run, right?
Yeah, it won 5 festivals, and now we're just going through all the. I got distribution, and now just going through all the technical stuff, preparing it for
like deliverables and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So why don't you tell people?
It's going to be on Blu-ray and DVD from the company, because people do still watch Blu-rays and DVDs, especially the the type of audience that watch these kind of movies.
Totally.
There still is a lot of collectors out there, believe it or not.
You know what you could talk about here for a minute, because so the short we shot, The Road to Camp Miracle, it goes to the colorist Friday. So we're having our session Friday night where I sit down with them and go through color, and I'm wrangling. What's that?
You use Da Vinci? Is that what you call it?
I don't know. It's our. Oh, you don't know that. I was looking at you like you were Justin, our cinematographer. But I don't know what software he uses.
Okay.
But just wrangling deliverables for this is no big deal. For sound is kind of a pain in the ass. How's it been? So, guys, if you're listening, wrangling deliverables. Scotty, was it a nightmare on Fifth Passenger?
Yes and no. I mean, I did everything myself.
Let's explain what it is real quick too.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much when you have a film that's being distributed, you have to deliver certain things to them. There's a whole thing along the process. I mean, if you're in the post-production process, it's like, okay, I gotta get a copy of the film together in whatever format so that the colorist can go and do the color.
They'll tell you
to
what
it.
format they need
Right.
it in too.
Or I need to get all the audio together so that the audio person can mix it all together and add their special sauce and stuff like that. But then when you go and get your film distributed, you have to have different versions of the film that you deliver. You're like, okay, well, we've got the normal 5.1 stereo version of the film, and then we have to have.
So this is what John has to worry about right now, right? All this stuff.
A 5.1 surround, and there's your stereo, and then you have like your textless master, which is the film without any titles on it at all. That way, if it goes to Germany, they can put the German titles on the film and stuff. And yeah, it's I
hated it.
Yeah,
it's
a lot of stuff,
bad.
right?
And the cover art.
Cover. That's what I was going to ask you. They ask for still photos, all that stuff.
Yeah, all that.
Yeah, because they want to be able to put together like like they want to use the stills for putting together artwork, right?
Yeah. But I got a nice. I could. They're really cool. They let me take. I have final say on everything.
Oh, that's amazing.
They gave me a bunch of different artists. If I want to do like some. Matter of fact, this company still does. They put out a lot of old school films, like movies from the 80s.
Oh, they re-release them?
Yeah, they do a lot of stuff.
Right.
Like
Who
that.
is it?
Synapse Films.
I thought you were saying.
And so they do like Dario Argento films. They do a lot of old school films as well as some new stuff, but they do a lot of old stuff as well. And so they work with a lot of the old school artists that still draw and paint their covers. So they gave me a bunch of different artists to call and talk to and ask me like which guys I like.
Oh, that's amazing.
If I want to do anything like that. So I was like, yeah, of course I want to do a cool old school badass cover. So
Suspiria. When you said Argent, or when you said
exactly.
Yeah, I thought it was. What is it? Dario. What's it?
Dario Argento.
Yeah, I was like, I know is that Suspiria? That's what I was looking up.
They actually just released a 4K version of that movie.
I was just looking up on my phone. That's why I just shouted Suspiria.
That's the company that you're
Because I was like, did he do Suspiria before I said that? I was going to look it up real quick and double check.
Yeah, that's
Fuck
them.
yeah, man, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Goblin.
Yeah. Oh man, I love them.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, sorry, I forgot to fanboy.
Scott actually gave me a ticket to go see them last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They're still
I've seen
doing
them before,
it, huh?
but that was awesome to see them last year.
So if you're listening, Goblin's a band that does the music for old movies like Suspiria. What else? Like a lot of movies.
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead. And if you guys know those themes, like I'm imagining the girl I was dating listening to this. She's gonna have no idea what we're talking about, but film nerds who are listening probably makes more sense too. But like those soundtracks are iconic, dude.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, the old school Italian progressive rock.
Yeah, let's use it for a zombie movie. That's what Romero was thinking. You're listening to like, what the fuck is the soundtrack's so iconic, but it's so bizarre.
Weird synthesizers and drum machines.
And that's a decision that never would have been made with AI fucking determining what fucking soundtrack to put on a zombie movie, dude. No way.
Yeah.
What else? He's done or Goblin's still scoring movies now, right?
Oh, I don't know.
That's a good question.
I thought
they mostly tour and play a lot of their old school stuff.
It's kind of like the best of kind of.
Yeah, but I'm assuming they still do. I mean,
yeah,
I'm sure
you got to look that one up
them,
probably on IMDb. But
that would be dope. Get them on like a next film or something like that. Like
that'd be
retro kind of thing.
Yeah. Of course, you'd want to make the project. It would have to fit, right?
Yeah. A rom-com or something.
Right? Yeah, just kind of like a Fuller House kind of deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, I was seeing some things where it was like they've got AI that are like writing scripts and cutting trailers and like editing films, and it's like how where's this going to end? This is like. Is this
AI is making our art for us.
Is this dystopia worse than Terminator? Or like
where we live is the one where the machines don't kill us. Worse.
They just make art for us, and like these are the we are your robot overlords, and these are
Fuck
the movies
you, John
that you
Connor.
gotta watch.
You fucked us all, dude.
Yeah, I mean, because that kind of goes back to what we were talking about before with like Disney is like, Disney takes over, and it's not so much that they're giving us that Disney gives the audience what they want. Disney just gives whatever they give you, and that's just what's there, and you watch it because that's what they give you, and you like it or you don't, and it doesn't really matter because that's just what they're doing. It's
like
not
you go to the
like
grocery store. There's fucking 3 kinds of cookies, and it's not. Like they're the ones that are there, and you pick one of the 3, dude, and that's just the way it is.
And when you really research the labels, all 3 cookies are actually owned by the same company.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're, like they have some sort of flow chart. I don't know if you've seen this flow chart, and it's like everything you buy at the supermarket is owned by like 3 companies.
Oh yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether you're talking about like Pepsi or Quaker Oats,
and they're
or
all getting their
Dole
ingredients from the same
Pineapple.
places.
It's like every product is owned by like the same 3
Right.
companies. You trace it back, and it's like the company that owns Coke, and then there's the company that owns hand soap, and then there's the company that, and it's like it's all the same shit. You're getting just different flavors because there's been all this like consolidation of companies buying each other and all this kind of stuff. So. And that's the movies too, and so now we're just gonna have one company, Disney, and there's gonna be the Disney robots that are making movies for us, and
yeah, you sound excited about it.
welcome to the future, assholes.
Yeah, fuck.
Can only hope it backfires.
Yeah.
Really, truly hope so.
You know what? Every time I think of this, sometimes I've said it before. You take like in pop culture, musically, for example, take Nirvana and the whole anti-pop backlash. Here, you looking for a bottle opener? I got you. I heard once that every time the arts get too corporate or too by the numbers, that is the perfect, most fertile ground for something rebellious and badass to fucking explode.
Yeah.
It gives. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
You
That's what I was
need a
gonna get into.
machine to rage against.
Absolutely.
And so let the AI run movies for a while and watch what, like, maybe it's almost like we're the boomers and we're being fucking irresponsible and lazy and we're letting AI write our movies. Watch what our fucking kids do as a backlash, and it'll probably be the greatest art you ever saw. What? Because art is always, the best art's usually saying something about something. It's like we're giving them a major machine to rage against here, So maybe the optimistic point is that the rebels will fucking fire back.
But we were going to totally not even understand whatever those movies are. They're all going to get it, and it's going to be awesome, and we're going to be like, what the fuck?
Movies used to be simple.
Yeah.
You got to remember, that's where it happened back in the day with the Westerns. They were making endless amounts of Westerns for a long time.
Right.
And it was almost like the superhero films are now. And then everything crashed. The whole Hollywood system crashed. They all went under. And that's where Scorsese and De Palma and all these amazing filmmakers that were doing some really good stuff back in the day, that's where they came from.
Yeah.
And that's the 70s came from.
It's almost
some
like
of the best films.
It's almost like when a forest burns down to regrow. You know what I
when you
mean?
have films like Easy Rider that came out.
Oh,
Exactly.
which is just like a running gun, dude.
Yeah, and that was a totally anti-establishment kind of film. Right,
and that's just a film they just made as a road trip. They were literally like the crew was on a road trip making a movie. I think. Maybe the optimistic take is that no matter what, there is always going to be that backswing.
It just I think
like
the
Bring It
question
On.
is always going to be the profitability, and that's the sort of double-edged sword.
They
with it,
just
is
want to
like
control.
how
They
can
want to
you-
make it a safe bet every fucking time.
Well, because
and I
it's-
just don't think you can, man.
Well, I think that's the sort of logical conclusion when you're talking about film as art, but as also a business and like a profit motive in there. As soon as that profit motive is introduced into it, it's a different beast.
Of course, yeah, because it becomes you have responsibilities as a businessman, whether it's to investors, whether it's to shareholders or whatever, you know.
Or the audience even of like, okay, well, you know, I got to deliver something that the audience is going to like so that the audience likes it and so that it gets more ticket sales and blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
whatever,
and so that
know.
you can continue on making more things after that, right? Like
Right.
all three of us have sold films, and like we understand that like it's a piece of art, it's a piece of art, it's a piece of art, and then bam, now it's a product.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now it's a product, and what's it's worth? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And what's its value, and how do you sell it? And
Yep.
that's the flip side of the coin there for sure. Yeah.
So what's next on the docket there?
No, that's it. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Well, it's a weird thing to segue into.
See yourselves out.
Usually, Scotty and I, by nature, will just end up fucking complaining about religion or complaining about something, and it'll segue into this more easily. But this time, we were a little too professionally on point, guys. I would have liked it a little looser so I could change the subject more easily.
Well, I mean, you know, if you tell me what it is ahead of time, then I can pretend to.
We
segue
do. He
into it.
knows what it is. I already told him.
But I forgot already.
This is a bad segue. You know what the best segue is actually into this is who saw Ricky Gervais
Oh yeah.
tearing into everybody at the Golden Globes. Have you seen it?
I saw the clips, and that was amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
God someone said something.
Yeah. So I mean, everybody on fucking every podcast ever is probably responding to this right now, so we don't have to go too in depth. But it was basically shouting Hollywood down for being hypocritical, right, on political stances and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What was your favorite?
Well, I only saw clips. I don't watch any of those awards.
Yeah,
So-
I'm dating somebody who I watch the awards with, but otherwise
Yeah,
with
the only
you.
time I watched the awards was back in the day of Cinefamily when they would play it.
The
and they
Oscars,
had
yeah,
comedians there.
I think the ratings are
making
like
fun of it.
I think the ratings are like at an all-time low right now, actually.
Right.
So.
Well, I think a lot. I think a lot of that is just there's so much other content out.
Oh, yeah.
And those shows just they just aren't. They're just not what they used to be in relation to like what's currently out there. You know, it's like we have so many other shows and things that are on right now that it's like, oh, now there's an awards show, big frickin' whip-de-doo. Where like back in the day, it was like, oh, it's the same old things on our 3 channels we have, and then there's an awards show, and like, wow, it's an awards
I
show.
think it actually
Watch
feels
you
a
know?
little out of touch. Like
Yeah.
it hasn't evolved with the times.
Yeah.
I think it kind of feels like a little bit of a circle jerk. Not to be.
little bit.
Yeah,
But that's what it is. I mean,
exactly
in
what
the
it is.
sense.
yeah, but I think that now that we have more content, we have, like he's saying, we have the internet. Like I do think people are a little more. Even the ones who rebel against changing and liberals and being woke, even they all seem to be a little more aware of things sometimes now. And I think most of America knows that this is irrelevant.
Well, I mean, I
it
guess
feels
I get,
so fucking irrelevant.
I guess it all depends on which aspect you're talking about. Like, are you talking about the awards themselves in the sense like where we have the Oscars and every year we're gonna look at all the films that came out and we're gonna give awards to which films we think were the best films and the best actors. And I mean, like to me, like that seems like a totally like.
But that's the Oscars,
Right.
And then this was the Golden Globes,
Right.
Then there's the
yeah.
fucking SAG Awards.
Yeah.
It's like how many times do the same group of people got to get together and pat each other on the back all night? You know what I
Right,
mean? And
right,
we all
right.
talk about who's wearing what. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It
Well,
seems-
that's
it's nothing.
but see that's the thing though. It's like it's separating the sort of idea that you're going to have an awards thing at the end of the year to say, hey, these are the films that we like, that we all get together and say, hey, good job, you made a cool film, we're going to give you an award. And then the ceremony itself and everything that all the accoutrements and everything that
Yeah,
surrounds
maybe
the
there's-
ceremony.
maybe there's a better way to
there's
do
like,
it.
There's like 2 different things going on. Like the whole thing with it's a 5-hour special and everybody's talking about the gowns and what so and so wearing and
Yeah.
and the political commentary and all those kind of things. That's all tacked on to
Yeah, you're
to
right.
this thing that we have where we're gonna say as artists, just like it's like a film festival.
Because that idea is cool, what he's saying. The idea of just having, like, what was the best film?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you know what it is, dude, when you watch this isn't about who's the best film, who's the best actor.
Mm.
This is about who's your favorite celebrity and who's the hottest. And who's the coolest?
Well,
and
yeah.
like I really think so. Who's wearing what? Like, but if it was just
That's-
about what you're saying,
Yeah.
then I think there's something pretty cool about it, you know.
Yeah.
But to me, I think we all know now it's blown up way. It's not what it is.
Yeah,
anymore.
well, all that other stuff kind of like all that other stuff overshadows
Yeah.
what the intent of the Film Academy of Arts and Sciences this organization getting together and saying, hey, we're like a fancy schmancy film organization that loves
Right.
films and wants to curate film as an art form and keep that in the public profile and say, give some sort of recognition to the artists who, direct and write
Right.
and act and do music and edit and all the different aspects of film. And I think that's great. And I think that, having the award shows just like having a film festival and your film is winning at a film festival. But then when you add all this other shit onto it, like, the red carpet and the dresses and who came out with who. And
Do you guys
all
care
that
about
kind of
that stuff? Fashion? Are you like a hard no, or are you in the middle?
I don't really give a shit. Like, I mean, like,
That's what I try not to say. That's how I feel, and I try to
Yeah.
find a more tactful way. And you
yeah.
just fucking
No, but I mean, like, if I go to an award show or I go to something, it's fun to dress up and to wear something
Totally,
nice.
I wanna dress
but,
nice, yeah.
like, I mean, I'm not like gonna watch a show and be like, oh my god, look at this cool dress this person's wearing, or that's any part of the entertainment value, really.
No, it's not to me
unless
either.
it's
I don't
like
care.
Trey Parker and Matt Stone
Yeah, but
going.
they were flipping. They were making fun of it.
Right.
I have a
That-
question for you guys. A little still on topic, but slight shift. John, do celebrities have any business pushing social issues or political issues when they're up there? In your opinion, so if you're because maybe there's something you care a lot about, right? And if you're a world famous director or actor, and you care about it just as much, are you crossing a line by using that platform suddenly to promote the said cause?
Well, that's wow, it's a tough topic because in one way, they have a right to talk to their audience. They have people that follow them, and people do care what they have to say.
Right.
And then in another way, it's like, do you really have to push that on people? Mm-hmm. So it depends on how you look at it, you know. That's a tough one, man. I think people go a little overboard, and they just won't let it go, and they just keep talking about the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
And it gets to be annoying, without a doubt.
Right.
And okay, we heard your point of view. Your fans know what you want to say about it. Move on to something else. Aren't there
Right.
some other important things to talk about besides the same fucking thing over and over and over?
If it's something
and over?
if it's something like calling out the Catholic Church for child rape or something, then I'm like, you don't have to stop talking. Like, hammer that home forever. But if it's something like, I don't know, I can't think of a lesser cause right now off the top of my mind, but
Well, sometimes it's like, Trump's an asshole and Trump's a bad guy, and so
you never heard that before?
Yeah.
For how many years now?
Yeah.
How many times? We get the point. Okay,
like it's
you
pretty
hate
understood.
Trump. We get it.
It's pretty understood at every award ceremony.
But
Artists, 99% of artists don't.
But
like
there
Trump,
are
right?
important topics that should be talking about
sure.
that they can use
Yeah.
to help the world out, okay? But I don't think they necessarily do that.
Yeah.
Right.
There's so many other more important things, like you just said, the Catholic Church and all of that, and the pedophilia and all of that.
Yeah.
But, no one really talks about that too much, especially in Hollywood.
I had a friend who said to me one time, and it's kind of on the flip side, but I'm talking about like believing in a cause and never shutting up about it. He actually told me one time, and he's an atheist, but he'd read the Bible numerous times. They say sometimes like atheists are the most knowledgeable people about religion because they've looked at it the hardest and the most closely and tried to decide how they feel about things. He used to say, my best friend would say, if I believed this book was true, you wouldn't want to be around me. He's like, because if I really thought you were going to go to hell if you didn't believe too, he's like, Larry, I would never leave you alone about it. So I'm thinking he's like, he doesn't believe it's true, but he was saying like, these words are pretty heavy here. This is a pretty serious topic. If you buy it, please never shut up about it. Save all your friends from eternal hellfire. So I do think sometimes, like, and I'm kind of playing devil's advocate, but I think, like, if I'm a celebrity and I think that the world really is burning up and that I can reach more eyes and ears than most people can, I might speak up about it a lot,
Yeah, it's if you have a platform, whether you're a celebrity or an artist or an athlete, everybody's obviously has a right to their opinion, and everybody has a right to use their platform to further causes, but there is the thing about if you're being hypocritical or whatnot, but it's tough. I think the award ceremonies are maybe not the best place to do that. Not saying that anywhere you go isn't a good idea or isn't a good place to like further your cause. Whatever that is, but there is that fine line. But I think this idea of saying, oh well, actors have no place to talk about politics. I'm like, well, that's somebody who just doesn't like that person's opinion.
I think so too. Because as soon as a right-wing actor starts talking politics, they love it and they share it like crazy.
Oh,
dude.
yeah. I mean, they say, oh, musician doesn't have anything to say about politics, and they should just shut up about it.
And then Ted Nugent
or Kid Rock or somebody gets up about something,
and he's a hero.
Yeah, he's a hero.
Yeah, and it's important to mention too. I noticed that at the end, Ricky Gervais, who kind of became a right-wing hero overnight, his closing statement was send money to Australia for the fires. So he's not all about never say anything. You know what I mean? He was just calling out hypocrisy, I think, and self-righteousness. But yeah, sorry, I mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I think that's and that's the thing is like he's within his own thing, kind of being hypocritical about it. If he's saying, "Oh, you can't get up here and say talk about whatever your pet cause is because you're being hypocritical," and then he gets up and says, "Oh yeah, we should probably give money to the."
He was saying they're hypocritical for working for companies like Amazon.
Sure.
And like Disney and places that have like sweatshops and like really horrible labor practices. And he was like, "How can you people come up here and preach about these political causes when you work for a company like Apple, which has actual sweatshops, you know what I mean, and stuff along those lines." So, but then
who do you think is
John's got a big grin right now? I think
who do you think is paying his paycheck? And like he was getting paid to be there as part of the Golden Globes,
right?
And what I mean, all those films, they're the ones who are paying his salary to be there and talking about it. And you could say all that stuff is contributing to global warming, which is making the fires in Australia worse. So how, what is
this whole idea of? I'm confused because this whole idea now is that all celebrities, like the Midwest, the flyover states, my hometown, Ohio, they think that us, LA, Hollywood people, big city people, are just so blindly crazy liberal. We want 400 genders. We want, you know what I mean? Like they think that's just how our brains are. So I was thinking, how do you go through life thinking all the people in the big cities are crazy? The news is lying to you. All politicians can't be trusted. Celebrities got no business talking about, like, if you've crossed off every single thing across the board, like who the fuck do you trust? You clearly, these people still have strong opinions about politics. Where did they get their information? Why do they trust it? And I was going to ask you guys, I know John's not as, you said you're not as super interested in maybe like watching the news and stuff like that, but like still, where do you get your idea of like whether or not Trump's good, whether or not these political issues are real or not? What sources do you go to and what ones do you trust and why? Or why not?
Are you talking about me specifically? Or,
both of you, but I'll start with you.
I mean, I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, different like news aggregators and people who kind of like political commentators, but not like people that are like on CBS and NBC, but more people who are on YouTube, and a lot of them are admittedly left wing. But there seems to be, at least with the people that I watch, like TYT and
that's the Young Turks.
Yeah, the Young Turks and the Humanist Report, Majority Report. So these people all have a very left-wing bias, but they're very open about their left-wing bias. They're not pretending to be completely objective about it. They're going to give you a news story and say, this is my take on it. This is how I feel about it. Like, and so
without misinterpreting the news story itself.
Right. And maybe there's some misinterpretation going on, but they seem pretty authentic about it. And so, and I agree with their opinion and their assessment of it, where sometimes I'll look at other news stories like on some right-wing sources or some other centrist ones, and they seem to have been giving the story a different spin. Like they're not just giving their opinion, like a lot of Fox and some of the other ones seem to portray themselves as middle of the road, like they don't really have an opinion. They're just kind of telling you how it is.
That's what friends and family like in Ohio are doing to me now. I think they actually believe they're middle of the road.
Right.
But I listen to them, I go, you're not middle of the road, dude. That's like, you're pretty fucking good. They just don't think they're conservative because they think of like a crazy right-wing hate group as the right.
Right.
And I think people need to stop. You know what I think fucked things up, dude? It's a little bit of a tangent. We should have never called this shit left and right. Because when you hear those words, you imagine two different directions, and clearly in your brain, the center has to be the middle, has to make sense.
Mm-hmm.
On slavery, for example, it's like to be all the way left is to say no slavery. To be all the way old school right is to say slavery. The middle would be slavery sometimes.
Right.
That's not a fucking reasonable stance. We should never have named these things after wings.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where the brain would automatically think the middle made more sense than anything else. I think we.
Well. I mean, we're also in a different. I mean, this is another kind of tangent, but we're also in a different political era than we used to be. I mean, it wasn't 30 years ago that there was this idea of public servants and statesmen, and a lot of politicians were they would come together on sort of common sense issues like, oh yeah, well, we need to invest in the roads and we need to invest in education. There were things that were sort of like bipartisan that weren't sort of like stuff to fight over, and then it became so polarized that the right and the left and
both sides are pretty guilty
and
of it.
They can't agree on anything just for the sake that they don't want the other side to get any kind of victory.
Like score points. I think it did become a football, like you're cheering for football teams.
Yeah, where like Obamacare was the right wing's answer in the 90s
when it was Romney care.
Yeah, well, when like back in the day, Hillary Clinton was pushing for universal health care, and in order to stave that off, the right wing came up with their plan. Their plan was like, well, yeah, let's do this thing where everybody has to buy private health insurance, and then nothing got done. And then Obama comes and introduces Obamacare, which is
a socialist monster.
Yeah,
it's the same idea.
Yeah, it's the same idea that the Republicans had in the 90s, but the Republicans won't agree to it because if they agree to it, then they're giving Obama a victory.
John, how do you feel? Is there a news source you trust? Do you distrust all, or do you just stay out of it completely?
My thing is this. It's not about whether they're lying or telling the truth. I feel like every time I watch the news, it's just so fucking negative, man. There's so much negativity and so much division going on.
It's so divisive.
I'm really an artist. I write, I paint, I draw, I make music. I spend a lot of my time being creative, okay? And I really don't have time or do I want to spend my time and energy? That's what it really is. I'd rather put my energy towards creating than arguing or fighting about something that do we really even know the truth? Are they telling a lie? Are they speaking the truth?
Right.
I don't know, and I don't really care, to be honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not left. I'm not right. I don't know if you even want to say I'm in the middle because I don't even pay attention much.
Or neither, yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like every time I
Disconnected.
see something, it's just so fucking negative. There's so much good going on in the world. Why can't they talk a little bit about the goodness going on?
I was working in a town in Texas when I was like 23, and I was in Houston. I think Houston and Austin are like the progressive parts of Texas, I believe. And I was just I think it was in a pizza shop, just picking up my pizza. And the news is on, and they were just like, I don't know what the thing was at the time. Was it anthrax? What is it? Iraq? It was a scare, right, on the TV playing. And this dude walks up, and he points at the TV, and he goes, do you hear this shit? And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of listening. And he goes, fear, negative. Everything's bad. Be scared. He goes, dude, look out the window right now. And I look outside. He goes, it's fucking beautiful out. He's like, it's a really nice day right now. He's like, it's fine. We can go outside and do whatever we want right now. He's like, don't believe that shit. And then he just walked out. And I was like, it's a simple take, oversimplifying, but still I always remembered that too. Like, it's not, you don't have to fucking carry this with you and let it ruin your existence all the time. You know what I mean? But what you were saying kind of took me back to him saying that too. Like, dude, let's just go outside for a minute. Not to say there are real problems that are like, climate change is real. You know what I mean? Like, we got to pay attention to, but at the same time, to not get swallowed up.
And there are problems going on. But, I mean, do we have to concentrate? I mean, I know that's what sells. Obviously, that's what sells.
I think fear sells. I think it's fear.
Sure.
But, I mean, come on, give us something good. Be positive about some stuff. Tell us mix it up a little bit even. Give us a little bit of positive things
I think positive stuff doesn't get the same ratings.
No.
Oh,
I think
for
it's
sure
all,
not.
I
No,
think that's
no.
probably a big part of it is all this stuff is now ad based. It's all about making money.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And there's a 24 news cycle. You got to keep saying shit for 24 hours a day. You're like all the way around. Like you
Well,
got to keep
and what sells is controversy,
yeah.
and they get. I mean, if
Offending
you,
people a
if
little
you
bit
watch
themselves,
if you
I think.
watch like network news or like corporate news, it's oh yeah, we're going to get this one person who's going to argue this thing, and we're going to get the one person who's going to argue the other thing, and it's like, and that's the kind of frustrating thing when you talk about stuff like global warming. They're not bringing in. They're not saying, okay, we're going to operate under the impression that global climate change is a real thing that's happening. So let's get people to come in and talk about solutions and how we can
Yeah, we
do
should all
it.
be debating solutions.
Right. And no, they're like, oh, well, okay, since we have somebody talking about climate change, we have to balance it out by bringing in someone who doesn't believe that climate change is real. And
Right.
it just continues to constantly be this sort of thing where they're still arguing whether or not it exists.
I heard somebody say on the topic of, I think it was climate change. It might have been Bill Nye or somebody. He said basically what they'll do is, if 59 out of 60 scientists say climate change is a problem right now, he goes, you'll look on cable news and they'll have one guy who's saying it's a problem, and then one of the one or two scientists who say it's not on there. So it looks like a 50-50 debate.
Right.
And it just looks like they've turned it into a liberal conservative debate, and then liberals and conservatives just pick a side, and we can't have a conversation about anything anymore. You know what I mean? It's all hijacked by this fucking weird,
because that's all they want is
this
controversy.
feud. It's all this.
They
It's
don't
Hatfields and
want,
McCoys, dude. But it's like, no, guys, like fucking 2 + 2 = 4. I don't give a fuck what team you're on here. You know? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I do think it's been hijacked for sure by these things.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're coming back to your initial point of news is how do we tell news source things are coming out, and I think for me it's the sort of gathering as much as I can from different sources as I do. Like I'll listen to I have a hard time sometimes on Facebook. Like, I don't want to unfollow somebody who's always posting like weird right wing conspiracy theory
I
stuff.
want to keep them in my bubble.
Yeah, because I want
so
to.
I know they exist, but I can't take it either.
Yeah, it gets because, and then if you interact, then they're entered into the
But you know what?
algorithm where you see them more often.
I'm not going to draw a false equivalent. I don't want to say I do know lefties who I can't take and who I'll unfollow too, because everything's racist and everything. You're a fucking fascist if like the whole trans thing, like I'm confused about it. I'm just going to be honest about the trans thing. Like, I want people to have the right to do whatever they want. I don't want anybody to be harassed or assaulted ever for anything. But scientifically, if you ask me if there are two genders, I thought that there were only two genders. If I'm wrong, I'm open to learning about it. But in the meantime, during this process, don't tell me I'm a fucking fascist. Don't tell me I hate. That's the word. The word's toxic. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say my girl. The girl I was just dating told me she saw a funny meme that said, "Man, this culture acts like it heard the word toxic one time and just never forgot it. Just uses it for everything."
Yeah.
Toxic and hate, dude.
Yeah.
And we use the word hate like both sides use hate. Like, why do you hate women? Why do you hate trans? Why do you hate white people? You must hate the military then if you don't support this war. Why do you hate soldiers?
Certainly.
Like, what the fuck? We all hate everything now. Like, what? Like it's gotten so hyper aggressive and divisive. It's kind of insane right now.
Exactly what I was talking about, the negativity.
Yeah.
And all those, that all comes down to that.
Everyone just wants to be pissed.
Yeah, and just so much anger.
Yeah.
But the people are doing a lot of good, Why can't we talk a little bit about that, They always had to concentrate on everything bad people did, even if they did it 20, 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. Do people not change? Do people, what's the point of trying to be a better person?
Right.
If, something you did 30 years ago, you're going to get punished for. Then
Right.
people aren't even going to want to change,
Right.
I'll just stay the same then.
I'm certainly embarrassed by things I was thinking and saying 20 years ago, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't want to be held to the fire for those as a, one day I'm going to be 50 years old. I want to be judged by what I was doing when I was 25. But that's assuming I've learned and gotten better too. I guess there's
Well, I'm certainly glad that there wasn't like Twitter and Facebook around when I was 15 years old.
Dude, the dumb shit I was saying. Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, I said stupid shit, because I was a kid, and that's what kids do. And that at some point,
Your worldview's so limited too.
Yeah. Someone's gonna hold you to account for something you said when you were 15 years old.
Absolutely. Life is about learning and growing.
Yeah.
And trying to be a better person.
Well, okay. I mean, I don't know. We're all. Am I the only one tipsy right now, or what?
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel good. Yeah, yeah.
Me
It
too.
was a fun show.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me,
Thanks
guys.
for tagging
Really
along,
appreciate
John.
it.
For sure. Yeah.
Thanks a lot for everything.
Sorry, Scotty and I are so opinionated and talk so much.
No, not at all. This has been fun.
Well, we're gonna have John back too, because let's go more into the film, his
Yeah.
movie.
Well, I
movie
think what we
loves.
should do, we should throw it up to our listeners and let them vote whether or not John gets to come back.
2 people say yes, 1 person says no, and that was us 3. So
It's kind of like Survivor, you know, you get voted on or off the island.
the 3 of us will listen. That'll be our 3 hits. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah. So, yeah, well, thanks for joining us, John. And John's got a podcast that he's been working on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, this should be being released very soon. The Guts, Grime, and Gore podcast. Where
Nice,
we discuss,
dude.
kind of movies I was talking about: horror movies, grindhouse, cult, and trash cinema.
Hell yeah! It's an awesome way to put it.
Yeah. The kind of stuff that AI robots don't.
Yeah,
Don't-
exactly.
Yeah,
Stay
exactly.
far away from.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, and that's good because I think there's always going to be us. There's always going to be us, like rebels out there, indie
There has
filmmakers,
to
scrappy scrappy filmmakers making stuff that
Taking
robots
risks.
don't like. Yeah.
Somebody has to
yeah.
take risks, right?
Yeah, someone's got to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Wish I had $1 billion so I could take a bunch of little $1 million risks all the time and be
or
safe.
just make $1 billion movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually heard. I heard that Avatar before it had a. You remember Avatar, that fucking movie?
Yeah.
I heard before it had.
Last Airbender.
I heard before it had a title, not that one.
No.
Obviously, it was just called 8 to 80 because they had structured it so that it was appealing to people from 8 years old to 80 years old.
Oh.
And they included like war to get the men demographic over like 45, romance. Like they hit all those bases, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I heard that was kind of pretty much written by committee, made by committee. So I don't know how true that is, but
I thought it was just Pocahontas in space.
it was Dances with Wolves in space too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
They got another one coming out soon, right?
2 and 3, I think, right? I don't know if there's a demand for those though.
Soon. I mean, but
Find
he's
out.
also
I don't
he's
know.
also helming the Alien franchise. He's taken that over for some ungodly
Oh,
reason.
really?
I
He's
don't-
back, huh?
It's all for sale,
I
dude.
know he never left. Like
He was part of the rest. Well, he did Aliens.
Yeah.
James Cameron, but
Yeah.
did he have anything to do with any of the other ones? Mm-hmm. Okay.
yeah, he produced Prometheus and Covenant. Yeah,
Cameron did?
I didn't know that he had a hand in Prometheus, really.
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh wow.
Let's let's see here. It's right here on the shelf.
Speaking of Lloyd Kaufman too, John, he had told me that he had sold those Toxic Avenger rights to New Line Cinema back in the day. And they were like gonna make it a big movie, but
Yeah.
the rights would revert back to him.
Uh-huh.
And he goes, it was just a trick to keep him from making a Toxie movie when they made their Ninja Turtles movie, so that people wouldn't mistake the two. And
No way.
yeah, he's like, I got fucking Larry, I was bamboozled.
Oh, I'm mistaken. It
Scotty's
was
over there reading a DVD cover.
it's a Blu-ray, but yeah,
He's got that right up to his face like an old man.
Well, it was Ridley Scott who did Prometheus.
Scotty's
Oh
just-
yeah, exactly. The
Turn the
original.
hall light
Okay,
on, dude.
so Ridley Scott, has been doing all of those again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but I heard James Cameron was gonna
He's coming back.
step his foot back into those or something. I
Oh,
don't know.
good.
Oh, good. I don't know. Who knows?
I like Aliens.
Yeah.
The second one.
Yeah, I like the first one, but I also I like the second one.
There's
you know?
it reminds me of Terminator 2 compared to 1.
Okay.
Doesn't that change from Terminator 1 to 2? Is the same as
Absolutely, you're right,
Alien to
you're right.
Aliens. It goes from like this
But also it goes from indie to like
Creepy
huge,
horror film
gigantic
to, like-
blockbuster as well.
to like
Yeah.
they're playing Bad to the Bone and fucking like, you know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck? The genre just switched on us.
Yeah.
It goes from cool creepy vibe to like blockbuster. Yeah. Anyway, Scotty looks like he wants to wrap it up, but I think we're gonna do another one in a minute.
In a minute. Yeah. Sure. Let's do it. And
Let's do it.
cool. Well, yeah. So until next time.
We love you guys. We
Yeah.
love you so much.
Thanks
yeah,
again.
It's been the Old Fashioned Hollywood Podcast. Tell your friends.